Imagine trusting your partner, only to find out they're planning a secret trip with someone else. Jacob's response. Calculated, chilling, and unforgettable. Watch till the end for a twist that will leave you speechless. When Sarah returned home from her morning workout, she walked into the kitchen with a relaxed smile, her cheeks flushed from the fresh air and exercise. Jacob was already there, sipping his coffee at the counter, with his laptop closed beside him. The morning sunlight filtered through the windows, casting a warm glow over everything, but the tension in the room felt subtly off to Jacob, though he couldn't place why just yet. Sarah paused, watching him for a moment, as though weighing a decision, then took a deep breath, deciding it was now or never. "Hey, honey," Sarah began, her voice bright, though he sensed a slight edge. "I have some news. I'm taking a little vacation next week, going to Miami for 5 days." Jacob, a 47-year-old businessman with sharp features and a habit of reading between the lines, blinked, setting his coffee cup down a bit harder than intended. His eyes narrowed slightly as he looked up at her, controlled but surprised. "Are you serious?" he asked, keeping his voice calm but curious. Sarah's smile wavered. She was 45, confident, and usually very transparent with her plans, so this unexpected announcement took Jacob by surprise. "Yes, remember my old friend Julia from college? She recently moved there. She invited me to stay, and I think I could use some time to recharge." Jacob leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms and assessing her carefully. "Why didn't you tell me you were planning a trip? And why can't we go together?" Sarah's expression softened as she took a seat across from him. "Oh, Jacob, you know how it is, I just need a little break, a chance to unwind on my own. Just a few days to, relax and recharge," she replied with a small, almost hesitant smile. But Jacob couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He nodded slowly, keeping his gaze steady on her. "Sure, I understand needing some time alone, but while I was cleaning up, I found 2 tickets, one with Kyle's name on it. Is there something you'd like to tell me?" Sarah's expression froze for a split second, then she forced a laugh, though it sounded unnaturally high-pitched. "Oh, honey, it's nothing. Kyle, he's my trainer. You know, the one who helped me get in shape last year. We just happened to talk about Miami, and he mentioned he'd already planned a trip there, so I got a discount on both tickets." Jacob's gaze didn't waver, his eyes sharp and searching. "Just to save money?" he asked, his tone even but skeptical. "Yes, absolutely," Sarah replied, leaning forward as though to emphasize her sincerity. "Kyle's just going to be at the fitness events there. There's a whole crowd from his gym going to Miami for some master classes and fitness programs. It's a good chance to stay active and relax at the same time." Jacob let out a long, slow breath, his eyes still on her face as if he was looking for something beyond her words. He could sense there was more she wasn't telling him. His voice dropped lower as he asked, "Sarah, are you being honest with me?" Her cheeks flushed, and she forced another laugh, trying to dismiss his question. "Jacob, what are you talking about?" She looked down for a moment, then met his eyes with a strained smile. "Of course I am. This trip just came together quickly, that's all. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it." Jacob's expression remained unreadable. "Then why didn't you tell me before you bought the tickets?" Sarah looked away, hesitating for a beat before responding. "Because, Jacob, you don't have any vacation days for a few months, right? I just didn't see the point in discussing it when I knew you couldn't come. I thought it would just add stress, that's all." She tried to smile reassuringly, but Jacob's gaze remained steady, unwavering. He took a deep breath, his jaw tightening slightly. "Sarah, you didn't even try to discuss it with me. And now I find out that you're going with Kyle?" He shook his head, a hint of frustration slipping through. Any husband would be upset to hear that. Sarah straightened, crossing her arms in mild exasperation. "Honey, please. Kyle isn't a lover, he's just my trainer. It's honestly just a coincidence he's going, and it's not like we're spending the whole trip together. Julia and I will be lying on the beach, catching up, swimming in the ocean, all the typical girls' trip stuff, she replied, trying to sound casual. Jacob let out a long sigh, his eyes finally softening as he nodded. All right, Sarah, it's your decision. Do what you feel you need to do. Her face brightened with relief, and she leaned over, brushing a light kiss on his cheek. Thank you, Jacob. I knew you'd understand. But as she walked away, Jacob's expression darkened. The uneasy feeling gnawed at him, and he knew he couldn't ignore it. Not this time. Jacob wasted no time after Sarah left the room. He reached for his phone and made a call to his old friend, Leo, who had transitioned into private investigation work a few years ago. They agreed to meet later that day at a cozy coffee shop called Brooklyn Brews, a place they'd frequented in the past when they needed privacy. The cafe had a quiet atmosphere with booths in the back, perfect for discreet conversations. Later that afternoon, Jacob arrived at Brooklyn Brews and found Leo already waiting, nursing a cup of coffee and watching the door. Leo had a gruff demeanor, sharp instincts, and the patience required for his line of work. Jacob, Leo greeted, giving a small nod as his friend took a seat. What's going on? You sounded tense on the phone. Jacob didn't bother with small talk. Leo, I need your help. I think Sarah is hiding something, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with her trainer, Kyle. She's leaving for Miami soon, supposedly to visit an old friend, but she has a second ticket under his name. Leo's expression turned serious. That doesn't sound great, I'll admit. How long has this been going on? I'm not sure, Jacob admitted, his jaw tight. But I have a bad feeling. She's been acting different lately, more secretive. Can you look into it? Leo nodded. Of course, but it might take some time to gather any concrete information. I'll start by tracking her activities while she's in Miami and see if there's anything worth noting. Jacob nodded gratefully. Thanks, Leo. Just, find out whatever you can. I need to know the truth. Over the next few days, Leo kept Jacob updated, sending him snippets of information. Initially, everything seemed as Sarah had described. She met up with her friend Julia, and the two spent time at the beach and attended a couple of fitness events. Kyle was there too, but he appeared to keep a polite distance, at least in public. On the third day, however, things began to take a turn. Leo sent Jacob a few photos taken near the pool at one of Miami's upscale hotels. In one image, Sarah and Kyle were laughing together, his hand resting on her shoulder in a way that seemed just a bit too familiar. In another, they were seen in an intimate conversation, heads close, almost as if they were sharing a secret. Leo followed up with a phone call later that evening. Jacob, I think we're starting to see more of the picture. Today, they were pretty much inseparable. They had dinner together at an oceanfront restaurant called Sunset Waves. Not only that, but they shared a cab back to the hotel. Jacob's grip on the phone tightened as he listened. So it's more than just a fitness event, then. Seems that way, Leo confirmed. And this might interest you, Sarah withdrew a large sum of cash before leaving town. About $160,000. Doesn't seem like she'd need that much for a 5-day trip. Jacob was silent, absorbing this new piece of information. I thought she'd left her card here. She must have wanted some of it untraceable. Leo, keep digging. I need more than this if I'm going to confront her. Leo agreed and kept the investigation rolling. He even managed to get surveillance footage from some local businesses, showing Sarah and Kyle together outside of the fitness events. In one particularly incriminating video, they were seen entering her hotel room together, only for Kyle to leave hours later. Meanwhile, Jacob made his own preparations back home. He didn't plan to sit idly by, waiting for the truth to fully unravel in front of him. He was gathering evidence, preparing himself for the inevitable confrontation, and consulting his lawyer, Mr. Turner, a shrewd and relentless divorce attorney known for his skill in handling high-stakes cases. Mr. Turner listened carefully as Jacob laid out his suspicions and the initial findings Leo had gathered. "Jacob," he said, "if what you suspect is true, we can build a solid case. But be cautious. The more discreet we are, the more likely she'll let her guard down." The day before Sarah was due back from Miami, Leo contacted Jacob with a significant update. "Jacob, you're going to want to see these photos." Today, they were practically inseparable. They went on a private yacht rental, just the two of them. They didn't even bother hiding anything out there on the water. I took some zoomed-in shots that leave no doubt about their relationship. Jacob's stomach twisted as he received the photos. In one, Sarah and Kyle were lounging close together on the yacht, Kyle's arm wrapped around her as she leaned in, laughing. In another, they appeared to be sharing an intimate kiss. Jacob clenched his fist, feeling both fury and a sinking sense of betrayal. But then Leo dropped another unexpected piece of information. "There's one more thing, Jacob. I overheard them talking about extending the trip. Sarah told Kyle she had some extra cash set aside for emergencies. It looks like she's planning on staying a few extra days with him in Miami." Jacob exhaled sharply, his suspicions now fully confirmed. But he wasn't about to let her come back thinking she'd gotten away with everything. "Leo, you've done more than enough. I need to get ready for when she returns. Thanks for everything." With one last meeting with Mr. Turner, Jacob set his final plan into motion. He had enough evidence to present a clear case for divorce, one that would leave Sarah with very little. But Jacob wasn't only interested in ending the marriage, he wanted to make sure Sarah and Kyle faced consequences beyond that. The morning Sarah returned, she walked into the house, a bright smile on her face. Her sun-kissed skin and relaxed demeanor only served to irritate Jacob further. She dropped her bags and went over to kiss him on the cheek. "I missed you so much," she murmured, her tone affectionate, but Jacob sensed an air of forced innocence. "Welcome back, Sarah," he replied, keeping his voice calm. "Did you enjoy Miami?" "Oh, it was amazing," she gushed. "I feel so refreshed. Julia and I had the best time, and I even got to attend some fitness events. You should come with me next time." Jacob forced a smile. "Maybe I will. But Sarah, there's something I need to tell you. I hired Leo to keep an eye on things while you were gone." Her smile froze, and her eyes widened. "What?" "Jacob, why would you do that?" "Because I had a feeling you weren't being entirely honest with me," he replied, his voice turning cold. "And it turns out I was right." Sarah's face turned pale as he began laying out everything he knew, the photos, the videos, the large cash withdrawal, and the yacht rental. Her attempts to explain fell flat as he presented each piece of evidence. Her facade crumbled, and she could no longer hide the truth. "Jacob, please," she stammered. "It's not what it looks like. Kyle, he's just a friend." "Just a friend?" Jacob's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Friends don't share intimate moments on a yacht and kiss each other while they're supposed to be on a fitness retreat. I trusted you, Sarah, and you betrayed that trust. You spent our money, our time, and your loyalty on this fling. But that's over now." She reached out, her hand trembling. "Jacob, please. I'm so sorry. I was just confused, I didn't mean for things to go this far." But Jacob wasn't swayed. "You should have thought about that before. There's nothing left to say, Sarah. You'll be receiving divorce papers later today, and I've already listed the house. I'm done." As she stood there, stunned, Jacob turned and walked out, feeling a strange mix of relief and sorrow. The life he thought he'd had was gone, but he knew he deserved better than a life built on lies. In the days that followed, Sarah struggled to come to terms with the reality of her situation. Jacob had left no room for reconciliation. Her reputation was in ruins, and she faced financial turmoil as their assets were divided in Jacob's favor. The house she had once called home was listed for sale, and she found herself scrambling to regain stability, now with very little to her name. Kyle, too, distanced himself. Once Jacob's lawyer, Mr. Turner, had filed formal complaints against him with various fitness associations, Kyle's reputation took a severe blow. Accusations of inappropriate conduct with clients resurfaced, and soon he was unable to secure work in the fitness industry. Without a steady job, he decided to leave Miami, retreating back to his hometown in shame, forced to start over from scratch. For Jacob, the court proceedings marked a turning point. During the hearings, he watched as evidence after evidence painted a vivid picture of Sarah's betrayal. Each piece of proof, a photograph, a bank statement, a hotel receipt, served as a painful but necessary step towards closure. Mr. Turner skillfully presented the case, leaving no doubt in the court's mind about the extent of Sarah's deceit. As the judge ruled in Jacob's favor, awarding him the majority of their shared assets, Sarah sat motionless, her once confident demeanor entirely broken. She had not only lost her marriage but also the respect of those around her, who now saw her actions laid bare. The aftermath of the divorce was difficult for Jacob, too. He moved into a new apartment, slowly filling the space with belongings that reflected his fresh start. Despite the satisfaction of seeing justice served, he felt an emptiness left by the years of love and trust he'd given to someone he thought he knew. Friends and family rallied around him, reminding him of his resilience and supporting him through the healing process. Over time, Jacob learned to let go of the resentment. He focused on rebuilding his life, drawing strength from new hobbies, his work, and the rediscovered freedom of making choices for himself. Memories of his life with Sarah lingered, but he found peace in knowing he'd stood up for himself and moved forward with integrity. Sarah, however, was left with a much harder path. Financially strained and socially isolated, she faced the lasting consequences of her choices. Without the support and stability Jacob had provided, she struggled to maintain the life she had taken for granted. Reflecting on her actions, she was forced to confront the emptiness they had left behind. Jacob's journey wasn't easy, but he found closure in knowing he had reclaimed his life. Free from the shadows of betrayal, he embraced a future defined by honesty, self-respect, and a renewed sense of purpose. While the scars remained, he wore them as reminders of his strength, moving forward with the knowledge that he deserved a life built on trust, loyalty, and genuine love.